It's time for Commonwealth Common Sense with Susan Stimpson and Kevin Scholla.
Hello, Susan. How are you?
Kevin, I'm great, thank you. How about you? Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. Same to you. And there's been a flurry of news articles lately on American Crossroads and the U.S. Chamber, and they're putting up some big bucks to try to ensure what they're calling no-loser candidates. This struck a chord with you. What's going on with this?
Well, it was on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. It was Christmas Day, and they reported that the U.S. Chamber and the American Crossroads is going to put in $50 million to support what they say are establishment, business-friendly candidates in primaries and the general election. And one of the quotes from the top political strategist for the U.S. Chamber, Scott Reed, is, "Our number one focus is to make sure when it comes to the Senate that we have no loser candidates. That will be our mantra, no fools on our ticket." And in my mind, what we should be doing right now is uniting, because we have one issue around which Republicans can rally and can be united, and that is repeal and replace Obamacare. And why they're picking this fight when it's unnecessary, I do think it does tie back to 2012. There was almost $400 million spent on the presidential election and on Senate races and congressional races where they were the moderate candidates and they lost. You had George Allen in Virginia. You had Tommy Thompson in Wisconsin. You had Mitt Romney, who we were told that, he was the most electable and that we needed to get behind him. So this is a false narrative that they're laying out, that it's somehow the quote-unquote Tea Party's fault. These candidates are Tea Party-oriented, and it's really not true. The code word for business-friendly, I'm assuming, must mean you're gonna play the game. You're going to be willing to raise taxes. I don't know. What does that mean? I know that Stafford County, under my chairmanship, jumped to number one in job growth in the Commonwealth. Or actually, this was at the end of 2011, so it was right before I became chairman. But they were business-friendly policies that we passed, and that was making it easier for businesses to do business in Stafford County. But apparently that type of candidate might not be exactly what these groups are looking for.
Yeah, and I think also the other thing you look at when you hear business-friendly is what they're probably also saying is socially weak. Sure.
That what they're talking about with the moderate candidates, in my mind, are those who are not willing to say, this is the right policy, this is what the creed says, this is what we believe, this is what we know works, and it's what is best for our country, and this is what we're going to lead on. They just want to elect people who are going to go along and get along, just to have Republicans in there. And let me be clear, I want Republicans to win, and I do laud the work of the people in American Crossroads and the U.S. Chamber. We've had some great wins, but we need to be careful here that we're not alienating the base of the party, and that's what this is doing.
And it's also saying no Tea Party, and this is a Karl Rove deal again, right? A guy who, as we know, does not like Sarah Palin and does not like Tea Party candidates or Tea Party officials.
I think that Mr. Rove has been very successful in many elections and has done great things for the Republican Party. I think that he needs to step back and work on uniting and being accepting of the grassroots who put in hours and hours of hard work to get Republicans elected. At the same time, these grassroots who have done this year after year after year now are saying, you know what, if we're going to work hard for you, you have to follow through on what you said you would do. And that's where we are at this moment. And instead of pitting groups against groups, we are Republicans, and we should be united around repealing and replacing Obamacare, because that is the real enemy to our prosperity right now.
Oh, and they talk about no losers, you said. Karl Rove's a guy who's put up losing candidate after losing candidate, these moderate Republicans that he's gotten behind in the last election cycle. He also told us how Mitt Romney was going to win in a blowout, and he said some derogatory things about Governor Palin. So, I mean, this is a whole different thing from Karl Rove. I think we've talked about this with Christie and some other guys. I really think a lot of these guys, it's about, let's win and let's have things happen as long as I get all the credit for it.
Well, it's about winning and having people that you can control. But the problem is running those type of elections and electing people who are just going to go along to get along ends up producing very destructive policy, and that's where we are right now. And the grassroots, they are growing in number, and they're growing in frustration, and it does transcend party lines. And I think that it is my hope, at least, that Mr. Rove will reconsider this digging in and this drawing of the lines and this epic battle that he seems to want to wage on his own party, and that we need to be united.
And remember, while these types that Rove has backed have lost, we've seen Tea Partiers like Ted Cruz, like Deb Fischer, and then also in the Congress like Paul Gosar and Ted Yoho win. So, I think we know what America's really looking for. But, Susan, it's a great topic and something we'll be watching closely. Thank you, and again, Happy New Year.
Thank you. You too, Kevin.